It's kind of difficult to...
Now, facing Mr. Murthy itself is a daunting task, and he has turned his chair a bit and said that it's easier to face each other. Now, I don't know how many people would be up to that task, Mr. Murthy. First of all, thank you very much for gracing this BT Tech Today Congress in Bengaluru, your city, and having you talk to us about the digital future of India in that sense, and what India needs to do going forward. I would like to start off this discussion, Mr. Murthy, on, with hearing your thoughts on what are the key pillars on which you think India's digital future will be based in the next few years.
Well, I think any culture, any civilization, or any nation that has made impressive progress has revered and practiced meritocracy, number one. Second, it has revered and practiced values. And third, it has in some way lived in peace with neighbors. The reason is you don't want too much of the hard-earned money to go into defending yourself against aggressive people in your neighborhood. But that doesn't depend upon a nation, it depends upon neighbors too. But the reality is you watch any nation which has over a period of, I'm talking about last 50, 60 years, okay, which have gone up, I would say, meritocracy, a set of values amongst leaders of all avenues in the country, and third, a mechanism to live in peace with the neighbors. These things are very important because if you, I don't know if you have noticed, the first byline of Infosys was powered by intellect, driven by values. That's what we chose because we realized that for Infosys to grow to our satisfaction, to the satisfactions of our employees, and to the satisfaction of our investors, it is very, very important for us to show growth. Not just in top line, as it is happening in many cases, both top line and bottom line, because at the end of the day, if you don't make money hand over fist, in legally and ethically, obviously, in anything that you do, it is not worth doing. That's been my philosophy right from 81 when I founded Infosys along with my younger colleagues. Second, in any journey, to do that, you need competence, you need intellect, you need good ideas. You need to learn very quickly from others who are better than you, perhaps improve on those ideas and use them to become better and better. And second, you want to innovate some ideas and create solutions which provide a differentiated business value, differentiated value either to corporations or to consumers. So therefore, competence is extremely important. Second, values are very important because at the end of the day, if you want to have a sustained relationship with your customers, trust is to be built. If you want your employees to live, to be with you for a long period of time, they need to respect you. They need to have trust in the fairness of transactions in the company. They must come mentally and physically refreshed to say, I will add some value to the corporation. Third, if you want long-term investors, then they need to trust you with their money. In other words, they should say, these people are working hard, they are not into profligacy, they lead a reasonably simple life, and therefore they will provide a good growth rate both in the top line and bottom line. And then finally, I don't know of any corporation which got into big fights with its competitors, just as I said about nations. Neither of them has prospered. As they say, in a war, the winner loses and the loser dies. Let me stop here because I can go on and on. Yeah.
No, absolutely. So you're absolutely very well put about the value system being a very important part.
Yeah.
Now, you talked about Infosys, which in a sense, not in a sense, actually is the country's first real startup. And you know, I was speaking recently to Nandan Nilekani, and he also mentioned very, very fondly about the early days when he said, you know, when Murthy calls, you just go. And this was because it was a company which was created with the basis of having a core value system, not just for the purpose of doing business. Now, that is what Infosys is the gold standard of. In the sense of what we see around us today, Mr. Murthy, in the startup ecosystem, and we were just discussing a bit of it in the previous session as well, what is your sense if we are to have this digital decade, India, taking forward the enormously good work which has been done on the digital side? Governance has to be at the core of it, right? Otherwise, it cannot happen. How do you see? Are you a bit dismayed at what you see of very, very interesting startups, you know, really struggling because of governance problems? How do you see it? And do you think that this is just a blip and it will not last for long?
Well, you know, let's first of all remember that these are all youngsters. They're pretty, young in their age. They are highly impressionable. So therefore, they are prone to committing mistakes. So we should not be extremely harsh on them. But as long as they are willing to learn from those mistakes, quickly change their path and move towards what is in the interest of every stakeholder. So I would not use a strong word. I would only say that they need to accept their mistakes. They need to change their path. And if possible, they need to tell all their stakeholders, look, some of you have lost some money. Therefore, what we will do is we will run the corporation very well. We will create a certain kitty and we will do good social service as a penance. And second, for those of you who still have a part of your stocks in the company, we will work 10 times hard and make sure that that money will grow. Whatever little is left with us will grow very well and compensate for whatever loss you have made. I think those are the only two ways that we can atone for whatever happened in the past. And the thing that some ways slightly disconcerting is the fact that it's my own experience. When we were raising money for just before our IPO, because we had to take our own kitty to 1.2 crores, because those days 3 crores was the total equity required, and we were supposed to have 60% of it come from the public. But even to make that 40%, we had to go to a lot of our friends and relatives. Almost everybody who was well-to-do, they asked us hundreds of questions, and they didn't put in any money. The only people who put in money, I come from...
They would have been very, very rich now, sir.
No, now they are angry with me that I didn't persuade them to put that money. That's a different issue. But the only people who put money were my sisters, brothers, people who had very little savings, cousins, who had tremendous confidence in me. At least the guys that I raised 65% of the amount, and Nandan raised 35%. Others did not. But anyway, so they did it because they had observed me from my childhood. They had seen that we were very, very careful with money. They had seen that when my family took some loan for the education of my brother or whatever it is, they paid it back very carefully with whatever interest. All of that they had observed. So therefore, the disconcerting point here is there may be a lot of people, a lot of lower middle class people who may have put some money in some of these companies. Now, the question for us is, how do you ensure that these people who lost money do not lose out? That I don't know. I think all the governance experts in the country must sit down and then say, is there a way that in the future, if these corporations were to do extremely well, that a part of that money could be given back to those people maybe below a certain income level? That is possible. I think some innovative ideas have to come from governance experts. My son is here. He's a very bright person. I have known him ever since he was a small child. So I think people like him should think about, and there are a lot of professors from institutes of management and all of that, if they can sit down and say, this is how we want to ensure that everybody is a winner without hurting the major investors, without hurting the founders, etc.
So digital India, also digital, the footprint has a societal impact. Now that brings me to the topic which is being hotly discussed now, that of the impact of AI. Now you have been a public votary and you have said that AI is a good thing. It increases productivity. It will not really take away jobs. But a recent Microsoft survey also says that a huge majority of Indians actually fear for loss of jobs. That is one part of it, sir. The other point is about the whole impact on society itself, of AI, generative AI going haywire, going rogue. And that's a concern which even the people who have actually come up with ChatGPT, like Sam Altman and the others, have actually talked about having guardrails or some kind of regulation. There has been a whole number of people signing, asking for a halt to that. How do you see this vis-a-vis the whole productivity aspect versus the impact on society itself?
Well, I have said this many times. As long as we use any technology in an assistive manner, and in particular AI in an assistive manner, then we will all become better and better. Now, how can we use AI in an assistive manner? There are so many ways. For example, you can build expert systems. You can improve productivity in a corporation. You can improve your own work productivity. You can help AI diagnose new diseases. You can help AI help us in conducting complicated surgeries using robots and all that. So there are many areas, agriculture too. For example, in India, I would like to use AI in food and in agriculture first, because we are short of water. So if AI can help us in growing food with minimal agriculture. Second, we also have floods. If we can leverage AI in managing floods and also in reducing damage to agriculture, I think our country will be very, very useful. There are many others, it's just not that. But what happens to India is that India is a follower in technology. By and large, I mean, I don't think there is any technology that we have invented, right? Well, almost. You may look at iPads, look at phones, look at this, whatever, lights, LEDs, solar power, you name it. All of it was invented somewhere outside. But our education system has made us capable of using those inventions to make our lives better. That's good. There is nothing wrong with that.
UPI is a good example of that. The payment system, UPI, of taking it forward. And
well, there are two things that I'm very happy in India. That is, one is, of course, Aadhaar, which Nandan headed. I think it's a very, very good experiment, very good, very useful thing. It has added tremendous value to the country. And the second is what's happening right now, ONDC. If ONDC succeeds, I think we will bring the power of online commerce to small shops, everybody. So I think, yes, in some way, and UPI, of course, has done a good job. But then the seeds for UPI, were there elsewhere too. So it's not just India, but in a different way, in a different form. So I think the most important thing for us is to think of areas where we have big problems and use AI in tackling those problems. And I see that, for example, I wish somebody worked on a paper on how do we use AI to incentivize couples to reduce the population. Because that's a huge problem in our country. We all know we have already, according to World Bank, we have exceeded China, right? So we have to reduce our population. Otherwise, all the good things that are happening today may be reduced considerably. So use AI in population reduction, use AI in improving agricultural productivity, use AI in making sure that our water resources can be utilized better, use AI in reducing pollution in the air, etc. So there are many, many problems which are unique to us. And if we used these technologies to solve those problems, I believe we will be a better country. I don't think, we need to use it in autonomous cars. I don't think we need autonomous cars in India. Anyway, they may not work. But I think just because it is used in San Francisco today, we say, no, we'll bring autonomous cars here. That cannot be our priority. Maybe some people may want to use it. That's up to them. But I would focus AI on improving public governance, reducing corruption, in improving water availability, in improving agricultural productivity, etc., etc.
But Mr. Murthy, are you also in favor of at least a pause, like many of the global thinkers, including the biggest entrepreneurs as well, are talking about, to assess these very instances of how you can make them productive, AI productive, rather than make a deep negative societal impact. Assess it and then go to the next level of AI.
Well, I I am now 77, therefore I should be consigned to the dustbin. But I'm pretty old, so this is not the age when I should be doing that. There are a lot of intelligent people in India, in our IIMs, IITs, IIC, many institutions, and there are also thinkers here. In Business Today itself, you produce such wonderful articles. For me, there is so much data in your articles, so deep. So I just have saved so many of your articles.
Thank you, sir.
Unbelievable.
Thank you.
So what I'm saying is that the deep thinkers of our society, all of you that I mentioned, should say, what are the 10 grand challenges for India? And how can we use AI, machine learning, big data, etc., and other technologies so that we can make our lives better? I would say that if one of the IITs or IISc were to call a conference and call all of you, some 200 people, and then, form working groups or all of that, I think we will be. If we keep on following the West, that they did this, therefore we will do, I think, it is not a good.
So you don't really, you think there is a lot of positive elements of AI which need to be then sort of prioritized and taken forward. You don't really want to.
As you know very well, the other day, U.S. Air Force was conducting a simulation test, on AI-assisted drone. And first somebody said the operator died because that drone, killed him. The drone took him as the target and killed him. Later on they said, no, it was not, it was only a simulation. What happened in that particular case was, they had put in a maximizing function to locate the target. And somehow the loop where the human could intervene and say, no, don't go after that target, didn't work. In other words, a little bit of a faulty software. And then what happened was, it, I believe, destroyed the tower. Now, I don't know whether it destroyed the human being or not. That is, later on they denied. So, yes, you are right that it all depends upon us who are the creators of those technologies. We can use it for good purposes, we can use it for not so good purposes. For example, you need AI in handling nuclear plants, because human beings should not go near that. So there are many areas where AI can be used in an assistive way. And we don't have to use those applications that have been utilized in the West, because there the population is small, and we have, we're the country with the largest population in the world. Why do we have to do that?
So we are at the end of our time, but before that, I will take the liberty of asking you one question which is not a part of AI, Digital India or something. Now, what is your advice to the Prime Minister of Great Britain? What is the British, do you give any advice to the Prime Minister, British Prime Minister? I'm sure you do.
No, as a matter of principle, I do not discuss any foreign issue, particularly in the political circle, on any platform. So you'll have to kindly excuse me. Anything in India, anything, regarding whatever I have done is all welcome.
No, but how do you spend your time now? Is it difficult to move around freely in London when you go? I mean, this is not linked to any political issue.
I don't want to talk about those.
Okay, I shall respect your wishes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Murthy, and for an absolutely exhilarating discussion. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Saurav, for an absolutely exhilarating session. Mr. Murthy, an absolute pleasure. Standing ovation for you.